So you know who this is really going to annoy y'all. And I hate to tell you, but he got a big discount yesterday after...
Yeah.
I know. After an appeals court lowered his bond from $464 million to $175 million. But here's what he said outside the courtroom yesterday.
Do we have to look at him again?
I respect the appellate division for substantially reducing that ridiculous amount of money that was put on by a corrupt judge named Engoron. In the case of the trial that we just left, one of the many that are going, every single one of them is run by Biden and his thugs. We have a man who just ruled he'd like the trial to start in 21 days or something. And I don't know how you can have a trial that's going on right in the middle of an election. Not fair. Truth Social is doing very well. It's hot as a pistol and doing great. And it's going public. And the New York Stock Exchange wants to have us badly. And I told them, we can't do the New York Stock Exchange. You treat it too badly in New York. We don't want to do the New York Stock Exchange. And the people at the Stock Exchange are very, very upset about it. The top person is mortified, can't believe it. He said, I'm losing business because of New York, because people don't want to be in New York and they don't want to go to the New York Stock Exchange. So you can ask them about it.
On DJT is interesting as we see the shares rocket higher here. There's also a lot of attention being paid to the light revenue, you could argue, in the first 9 months of last year.
That's a very polite way to put it.
Yeah.
I think that this is a very expensive stock. The people who are buying it, I think it's almost like it's a keepsake. That the people who want to support Donald Trump know that as this goes higher, he's able to raise more money. Of course, the amount that he owes was cut back yesterday that he has to put up. So I think this is surprising a lot of people. You can't borrow it to short it. It would seem like a natural short because it doesn't have, as you said, a lot of there's no earnings power. It doesn't even have that much revenue. But I do think that this is something that the higher it goes, the more likely Donald Trump can go to the board and say, listen, guys, you know what? The market wants it. Let's unlock it so I can sell. Now, the board is, some people say it's a captive board, but his son's on the board.
Sure.
But that's what if I were President Trump, which, by the way, I am most certainly not.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Yes. If I were king of the forest, I would go in and say to the board, people want stock. Let's unlock this. And that's what I would do if I were on the board. I would unlock it.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I gotta tell you guys, the mainstream liberal media is fuming, right? They are going to be fuming over the chain of events that have happened over the weekend that has completely turned Trump's fortunes around when it comes to his finances. Because, of course, we all know they're trying to bankrupt Trump when it comes to his finances, his ability to run his personal businesses, and to also fund his campaign. However, after a series of events, including a SPAC merger that allowed Truth Social to go public, a company that he owns more than 50% of a stake in, Trump just got billions of dollars richer overnight because the value of Truth Social has skyrocketed after going public, as millions of people, right, are lining up to buy shares of the Trump media stock that has led to it skyrocketing over 50%, okay, over the last 5 days or so. Well, really 48 hours, really, to be quite honest with you. It's up 74.35%, okay, which is astronomical, okay, absolutely astronomical of an increase that has now led to Trump's Truth Social being valued at more than $9 billion. Again, Trump owns about 50% of that, which means that his total net worth now is not just $3 billion. He's up there in the $8 to $9 billion. Okay, and this is a big deal. This is a game changer because remember, Democrats are waging lawfare against Trump, using the state in order to try to financially break Trump and to keep him from being able to fund his campaign. He's had to use campaign donations in order to fund his legal expenses instead of using it to actually campaign. So now with Truth Social skyrocketing in value due to it going public, Trump now potentially has access to a lot more cash. And that, along with the fact that an appellate court in New York has reduced the $450 million bond that Trump had to pay as a fine in regards to the business fraud case against him that was levied by woke Judge Aragon and New York Attorney General Letitia James, deranged Letitia James. They lowered that to $175 million. Okay, so now Trump is in a position where he could potentially get a lot more access to cash that he could then use to help fund his campaign. Take a look.
You were going to say something?
Mr. President, you mentioned the cash you had. You said on Friday it's something like $500 million. You intended to put some of that into the campaign. Now that the bond's been reduced, are you going to start putting money into your campaign? You haven't done that since 2016.
Well, first of all, it's none of your business. I mean, frankly, but I might do that. I have the option. But if I have to spend $500 million on a bond, I wouldn't have that option. I'd have to start selling things. I don't have to sell anything, because it's a phenomenal company. Look, I built a phenomenal company. Someday they'll actually report that. I built a phenomenal company that's very low leverage, unbelievably low leverage, with a lot of cash, a lot of everything else. Why should I let a crooked judge make a decision to give $450 million that allows me to spend very little money on my campaign if I so choose? I'll be spending money on my campaign. I might spend a lot of money on my campaign, but I should have that option. A crooked judge shouldn't say, we're going to have you post a bond and take all of that money that I could be spending on a campaign or other things if I want to do other things.
Yeah, so now all of a sudden we're in a situation where, as of right now, the liberal media and the Democrats are making fun at Trump for not having a lot of cash on hand because, again, they basically weaponized the government to financially bankrupt Trump. But because of what has happened lately, okay, the reduction of the bond, along with the success of Truth Social when it comes to going public, Trump could very easily come up with probably hundreds of millions of dollars to fund his campaign if he needs to. And of course, the mainstream liberal media is upset about that. And we got to talk about the cackling hands on The View who are going to cope and fume over the fact that this bond for Trump was reduced, which basically helps him out financially. But before we get into it, we have to have a word from the sponsor of this video, Virtual Shield. Countless people are mistaking private browsing tabs as a way to stay anonymous online. It has gotten so bad that a popular web browser had to update their terms of service to let users know that using private web browsing does not stop websites from collecting your data. Even with private browsing mode enabled, you can still be tracked by websites and internet service providers. While many tech-savvy people already know that private mode in web browsers does not make them anonymous, the average user is being misled. That's why I've been protecting my privacy thanks to Virtual Shield VPN, and I absolutely love it. Thanks to Virtual Shield's help, I am able to browse the internet anonymously, which helps protect myself, my data, and finances from cyber criminals, ISPs, rogue tech companies, and data mining giants. With Virtual Shield's anonymous browsing, a strict no-log policy, unlimited bandwidth, built-in malware, and ad blocking, this is a world-class VPN for anybody who cares about privacy online. Cover your tracks with military-grade encryption and industry-leading VPN today. Be sure to use the link in the description below because every sign-up using that link will get 67% off with a 60-day risk-free trial with unlimited bandwidth, anonymous browsing, and fast internet speeds across all your devices. Try it now before signups end by going to virtualshield.com/BCP. That's virtualshield.com/BCP.
Everybody. So you know who this is really going to annoy y'all. And I hate to tell you, but he got a big discount yesterday after...
Yeah.
I know. After an appeals court lowered his bond from $464 million to $175 million. He's also the first former U.S. president to face criminal charges when he goes on trial April 15th for alleged hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. But here's what he said outside the courtroom yesterday.
Do we have to look at him again?
Wow. Just listen how deranged these people are, right? First and foremost, they are upset because Trump is not being levied with cruel and unusual punishment, right? Which is exactly what this is, okay? And it's actually funny because one of the cackling is, I'm gonna let you guys guess, is gonna actually agree that the $450 million judgment against Trump was actually cruel and unusual. But again, this is what they're booing, right? They're upset. Oh, Trump doesn't have to pay the $450 million. I'm so sad, right? And they're upset because they have to play a clip of Trump, right, speaking about the issue so that their audience gets a better understanding of, what's happening. Again, the derangement on this show is just, it's insane.
Respect the appellate division for substantially reducing that ridiculous amount of money that was put on by a corrupt judge named Ungoran. In the case of the trial that we just left, one of the many that are going, every single one of them is run by Biden and his thugs. We have a man who just ruled he'd like the trial to start in 21 days or something. And I don't know how you can have a trial that's going on right in the middle of an election. Not fair.
Yeah.
Well.
Boo, boo.
He's also saying the criminal trial could make him more popular.
Yeah.
Because a lot of his base is going to side with him no matter what. Yes, that's probably true. But is this going to make him more appealing to uncommitted voters? Oh, he's got another trial. I'm going to vote for him.
Yeah, exactly.
How is that going to work?
I guess it makes them feel like they're victims, like he's a victim, they're victims. It's like all of that. But it's like he's got how many?
88 criminal charges across 4 different jurisdictions.
I mean, the only thing the guy hasn't done so far is shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue.
Right.
Like he said he could do.
Yeah.
He's done every crime now, and he's running for the presidency of one of the great countries of the world. Just let that sink in for a second.
Yeah.
Well, and there's this myth out there that somehow these trials are going to win him over more voters and there's going to be sympathy. I reject that as a Republican because, yes, his base is going to be with him and they're going to vocally defend him. But to this sort of 30%, call them the Nikki Haley voters or the somebody other than Trump Republicans, there is no way hush money payments to Stormy Daniels or this fraud case in New York are going to make them more sympathetic to him. I find it to be just complete lunacy. But I'm thinking...
Wow. Alyssa Farah-Griffin, honestly, might be one of the dumbest analysts, commentators on the mainstream liberal media since Don Lemon, right? Since Don Lemon got fired from CNN. I'm so serious about that, okay? Because she claims that, the idea that the political persecutions against Trump are actually helping him is, I guess, silly or nonsense. She doesn't believe it. And it's like, according to the polls, they actually are helping him. Because if you actually look at the polls, ever since the FBI raid, of Mar-a-Lago, when this really first started, his poll numbers have done nothing but go up, okay? In fact, I will argue that probably more than 60, 70% of Trump's increase in popularity has to do with the clear and obvious political persecution against him. I mean, the fact that all these trials, all these things are happening against him at the same time right before an election, anybody paying attention kind of knows what's going on here, right? We know what's happening. This is a coordinated attack against him. And I think that there are a lot of Americans, whether you are conservative, independent, or even Democrat leaning, right? If you're fed up with the policies of the Biden administration, okay, and you don't like the current state of the economy, you're going to look to somebody like Trump and be like, okay, like they're trying to take this man down and the economy, the country was a much better place under him. And look what they're doing to him, right? And that will motivate people to go out and to vote for Trump. Okay, I think that's a part of the reason why his poll numbers are skyrocketing, right? Why he has now overtaken Biden as the clear favorite to win. Okay, so what Alyssa Farah-Griffin is saying is just not the reality of what is showing up in the polls. Okay, and I think that on the ground, I think, there are people that are going to be Trump deranged that are not going to vote for Trump no matter what. But I really do not think that these criminal trials are going to have that much of an effect. Okay, there is no evidence that the more of this lawfare and political persecution that they wage against Trump, that it actually really hurts him. Up until this point, it's done nothing but really help him. I mean, Trump has never been more popular than he is now. He's never had better poll numbers than he has now. So again, what she's saying, in my opinion, just doesn't make sense based off any of the polls that we currently are seeing.
About something else right now related to this. Donald Trump, aside from his general unfitness, is destroying the Republican Party. So right now, the RNC has $11 million cash on hand, How much did it have this time in 2020 when he lost the election? $77 million. Joe Biden's outraising him 2-to-1,
Yes.
and the Democrats and Biden have 3-to-1 money cash on hand.
Yeah.
So if you're a down ballot Republican candidate, you're running for Senate somewhere, you're running for the House, how are you not angry? There's not going to be money there to fund your race. It's paying Trump's legal bills.
You should be angry. And, you know, I will
Well, again, whose fault is that, right? Why don't you blame the Democrats for the political persecutions against Trump that are designed to try to bankrupt him in the Republican Party, right? That's what you actually really should be talking about. That's what you really should be expressing concern about. But again, she doesn't do that because she's not an actual real conservative voice, right? And that's my biggest problem with, again, these networks. Like what we're saying in regards to how NBC or MSNBC, they're melting down on air. They're boohoo-whining and crying about Ronald McDaniel being hired by the network. This is why people like Alyssa Farah Griffin are allowed to have jobs, right? Because they cannot say anything that is too pro-Trump, right? If they say something that's too pro-Trump, they're too pro-Trump, all of these people, all their colleagues will be protesting, right? They'd be upset. They'd be boohoo-whining and crying to the boss. So, you know, again, Alyssa Farah Griffin here is not a real conservative voice, and I think that this whole Ronald McDaniel situation has kind of confirmed that all of these so-called conservatives and these Republicans on these mainstream liberal media platforms, they're just propagandists for the establishment, okay? They're not actually really speaking from their own perspective as much as speaking from the perspective that they are paid to put out on these platforms. And that is Alyssa Farah Griffin, 100%.
say this, and I think it'll surprise people. The fact that his bond...
Hold on. Sir.
What's
I
that?
have to stop you with the camera because I can see you. So do me a favor, don't pull it out again. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
What was he doing?
Recording.
Oh.
So as I was saying, you know, I think this will surprise people, but the lowering of the bond was very appropriate, right? We always say that we want everyone to be treated across the legal spectrum in the same way, and that we want the law to apply equally in the same way. Bonds are not supposed to be punitive. They are only supposed to make sure that the person returns to court and answers, you know, whatever charges have been alleged. He does have a valid appeal, as far as I can tell. It seems like he has a valid basis to appeal. And so what this judge said is, I'm going to take $175 million instead of over $400 million so that you can continue your appeal, so that you can continue living your life and doing your business. But if, to be clear, if he loses that appeal, they get to keep that $175 million, and then he got to pony up with the rest of the money. So this is how it is supposed to work. This is due process.
Thank you,
And
Sonny.
I'm comfortable with.
So again, she's admitting that the $464 million judgment against Trump was too much, or the bond against Trump was too much, right? She's admitting that. Like, she knows that it's BS, okay? She knows that it's BS.
Good. Well, you know, listen, as long as he gets treated like everyone else.
Yes. In this case, he is.
I'd like everyone else to be treated as well as he's being treated. That's
Well, no, he's still not being treated like everyone else, because I think $175 million is too much, right? I think that this whole case is fraudulent. Okay, I don't think he should be really paying anything. But the fact that he is paying as much as he's having to pay really does show you that he is not being treated like everybody else. And that's the biggest problem here. It's clear and obvious that he's not getting special treatment.
what I'd like to see.
Yes.
You know.
I think the pivotal moment going forward will be the April 15th criminal trial.
Yes.
Because I do think that all this money in exchange, it feels day to day, and there's like a minutia and a numbing to watching it play out. But there are a lot of numbers. 51% of Republicans said that they would not vote for Trump if he becomes a convicted felon. And 44% of independents said the same thing. And I think even though we've seen the E. Jean Carroll case and the fraud case,
Civil cases, they're not criminal.
they're civil and not criminal. I do think the criminal case is going to affect that middle ground of undecided.
And to your point, Sarah, and I think it's a really important one, people do make a distinction in their minds between, oh, well, he owes money, as opposed to, oh, he's going to jail. Oh, he did something criminal. People feel differently about it. It's like a guttural reaction.
But how many accusations does one person have to have before you're waiting for the courts to do it?
Well, he has 44 in state and 44 in federal. But what I will say about this thing in New York, if he were to become president, which is unprecedented that we have a
Well, say God
felon as
forbid.
president.
My mother used to go, say God forbid.
God forbid.
So
My mother
say
says
God
the
forbid.
same thing. God forbid. He cannot pardon himself on a state charge.
But he can
So-
do it on a federal charge?
Yes, he
Yes,
can.
he can.
That's why Fulton
this is
County
whoever
was
did that.
That's why
Nobody
George
ever
is
did
with
that.
and that's why this case is actually very important. And Stormy Daniels is now a very important witness, by the way.
Yeah.
But I don't know, doesn't it freak people? Is it not freaking people out how we're talking about this? This is a man
Yes.
who said, I'm going to perpetrate a coup
Yes.
on the country. Now, when I was a kid, nobody, if somebody had said that, your face would fall off, your head would explode.
Yes.
But we talk about this like it's normal now.
Well, we don't
This
think it's
is-
normal.
No, but this is an
Yeah,
issue.
yeah.
This is not normal.
Yeah.
It is not normal to say that doesn't count when it's been fair and legal. It's not normal.
Well, and just to be clear,
know?
I believe the legal system and all of this is important.
Yes.
I think that how it affects voters is
No,
different.
but how it just affected. I'm going to get to her. My God, guys, I'm going to get to her. May I finish my point, or you want me to just jump now?
Whoopi is
Well, I mean, you're not making a real point, right? You're just all over the place, which I think that Whoopi, she might have a case of the Joe Biden, right? The more I listen to her talk, the more I'm like, what point are you trying to make? What are you actually saying? Okay, she's really saying a bunch of nonsense here. But ultimately, the nonsense is coming from a place of Trump derangement. Obviously, these people don't like the fact that none of these things that they've thrown against Trump have actually hurt Trump, right? None of the things that the establishment, that the Democrats, that these woke DAs have thrown against Trump, none of these things have worked. Okay, Trump's poll numbers continue to go up. He continues to get more popular, and they can't stand it, right? They absolutely can't stand it. So they're hoping that these criminal trials are actually going to move the needle, and I don't think that they will, right? I just don't think they will at this point. If anything, I think, honestly, it's just going to help Trump. That's what I believe at this point.
not in the mood today.
I'm not.
For your shenanigans.
I'm trying, I'm
Brian's
trying to do
shenanigans.
everything everybody wants, but, I never mind. Go ahead, son.
I have a legal note,
No
everyone.
kidding.
Trump has denied any wrongdoing and has pleaded not guilty
Duh.
to all 88 charges.
88.
So we needed to do that because y'all weren't aware that we just said it was 88 charges. You didn't know he didn't even say no.
Yeah, again, because you treat him as if he's guilty. That's why, right? You have to read that legal note every single time because you talk about him as if he's guilty. So you have to make sure you read that note to let people know that, okay, he's not guilty, right? That he has pleaded not guilty. He hasn't been convicted yet. But again, you treat the guy as if he's been convicted. Again, it's amazing. But with that being said, Trump, hey, man, he seems to be getting stronger and stronger and stronger. This has been a good last few weeks for Trump. It's been a bad last few weeks for Democrats. And I think that from here on out, man, I think it just gets better, honestly. But we'll see. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.